to Trail Talk here on LTTV. I'm Chris Forde. I'm the Director of Marketing for Illinois Eastern Community Colleges and Lincoln Trail College. And I'm joined by Dr. Zahi Atallah, the President of Lincoln Trail College. Zahi, how are you?
I'm doing great and very excited about our conversations today.
Yes, we have a great conversation today with Dr. Geri Anderson, and this is someone you know well.
I do. I consider her as a role model. Her knowledge of higher education, her experiences, and the way she gets the message across is something that I look up to and learn from.
All right, well, let's take a look. All right, joining us now on Trail Talk is Dr. Geri Anderson. How are you doing today?
Great, thank you. I'm excited to have this conversation.
Oh, so
here.
Yeah, so are we. Geri, I know you quite well, but for the many that don't on this side of the Mississippi, do you mind briefly telling them about your trajectory in higher education and why I consider you my guru?
Oh, okay. That's quite a term there, but I began in higher education about 40 years ago, and I began as a science educator and then became a dean in a 4-year institution and transitioned then to community colleges as a dean, and later went on to serve as the provost and vice president of the Colorado Community College system for several years. And I retired, and then I went out of retirement about 2 months later and went to Ames Community College, which is a district college in Colorado, and went there to do a 6-month project to design and implement a early college program. And 5 years later, I decided to retire from that. Along the way, I've provided professional development to a variety of institutions. Currently, I'm serving as a consultant and doing really exciting work in helping transition community colleges to a new model.
Well, that's great. And Geri, obviously you have a lot of experience within the community college world. And so one of the things that community colleges all over the country seem to fight is that stigma that community colleges aren't real college, or they're an extension of high school. And all of us, when we hear that, we cringe. But what are some things that community colleges can be doing to fight that stigma?
Yes, even hearing you just say that is like nails on the chalkboard to me. And to be very honest, I think it's that way because we as community college educators allowed it to be. We allowed to be treated that way. And I think it's because early on, we weren't as involved in political discussions. We allowed the 4-year institutions to take the money. Legislators generally at that time at early community colleges were, let me see, what am I trying to say? The legislators took a 4-year path to a degree. That's all they knew. And I think, community college faculty have the same credentials as a 4-year faculty. Our students come from the very same experience in secondary schools, and I think we need to do a better job telling our story. The other thing is we offer something that's a premium value. Do I need to shut them off?
No, we've obviously gotten your dog riled up too, but I can't blame your dog.
Okay. No, I'm like, oh dear, I think we're going to have a little edit here. Anyway, our students, as I was saying, come from the very same experience. And I think we need to start acting like we're the big kids in town, because we offer something that's at a premium right now, and that is career and technical education that can be delivered in a different type of package with a short-term credential to get people into the workforce quickly. We don't need 4 years of post-secondary education to be employable and to have a living wage. And I think what we need to do is start being more active in telling our story, and then also being involved as a resource in communities so that community leaders see the value of a community college faculty member and what they bring in terms of expertise.
So, sort of along those lines, what do you see as the future of community colleges?
Well, I think we get to decide what that future is. And I think there's two pathways that we can take. The one is to stay on course here, and that's to become a dinosaur and just wait until the asteroid hits us, because it will. The other one is to look at ourselves and learn the lessons that we learned or we had during COVID, and to look at reorganizing and to ask ourselves, why do we issue a 15-week certificate when business and industry no longer really cares about certificates? What they care about is that students have mastery of competencies. So we need to be looking at competency-based education in, I think, module self-directed formats. The other thing is, a second lesson that we learned from COVID that's, I think, the most important, is that people can learn from anywhere at any time. So we need to stop expecting students to come to campus between 9 and 1 during the day to sit and listen to a lecture. So we need to develop smart classrooms with small modules where students can be sitting at home with their sick child, or they can be in class. And I think making that investment is very, very important. So those are a couple.
Yeah. Geri, so enrollment typically ebbed and flowed with the economy, and we were typically counter-cyclical to the health of the economy. What the last couple of years have shown is that that's not necessarily true, and so many of us that banked our jobs on it probably got slapped with the reality. So you just touched on the on-demand education, the flexible education, but do you see us ever recovering from that dip in enrollment? If so, what should somebody like myself do? Because like everybody else, we're suffering.
Well, first of all, I think you changed the paradigm. And I feel pretty strongly about this, which I'm sure I'm the minority opinion, but state funding has been reduced so much that you really need to ask yourself, is it worth going through what we need to go through for that state funding? And I'm not saying become a private institution. I'm saying look at the way you deliver education. So I think you're not going to increase enrollment with these traditional 15-week semesters. So I think that you move to a competency-based model, which takes a little more approval from organizations, creditors like HLC or the Department of Education. But then you don't worry about the completers. What you do is you decide, what is my cost to deliver this module? And let's just say like precision agriculture, what would be a traditional 15-week certificate and another 15-week certificate. What if you broke those down so you looked at things like soil sampling, GPS, and those modules were 2-week modules that could be delivered in self-paced online courses that students could accelerate and take in a 2-week period or in a month period if they're working full time. And it's kind of like the Western Governors University model. And I think that fits for community colleges. And then I think what you do is you validate, and you can call it a badge, you can call it a certificate, you can call it whatever you want to. But when they complete, what they really do have is a transcript that provides the list of competencies that they have mastered. So I would say the most important person that any community college could hire right now would be an an instructional designer, and that then you start developing these modules that can be taken at any time.
So, I mean, I think you're not in the minority. I think so many of us, including Chris and myself, would be in total agreement with you, and we wish we went through college the way you described.
Yeah, I wish I
What
did
are
too.
your thoughts on, we learned a little bit during the pandemic, and many of us were hit with amnesia rather quickly, but we forgot that we taught in a flexible, high flex, polysynchronous approach, and it was successful. We've talked for years now about developmental education and how we're stringing along students forever. You've done a lot of work through your work through the Complete College America. Our math is still rooted in how we went to school as opposed to what the latest research has shown. So what are your thoughts on those? You talked about the importance of flexibility and the importance of competency-based education. But what are your thoughts on, like, you talked about changing the paradigm. What else do you have for us? What do you say to my colleagues here that would help them beyond what I can say?
Well, I think that we're in the business of education. We're in the business of learning. So we need to stress the value of lifelong learning for faculty and staff. And they all believe that. I think every faculty member is a lifelong learner innately, but they haven't been given the resources. And I would push back a little bit on we did it successfully. We did it in a panic, and we did the best we could do. And, faculty worked incredibly hard to move everything online as fast as they could. And some places provided better support than other places, other institutions did. But I think that the institution has to be prepared to make an investment to provide professional development so that they're really doing active research or action research where they are given time to develop something and removing the fear of failure, not tying it to tenure, but to giving tenure points for innovation and course development to try things, help them collect data and then look at that data. And I think the way you do that is to have faculty work in interdisciplinary teams. So they're supporting one another as they move through. And I think that having a set of faculty members develop a question, a research question, something they have an inference of, and providing them time to work together as a group and develop a research project. And I think that's the way we're going to move forward. And, they don't have to be huge, massive, change the world. They have to be a little bit about, like, if you attach a math course to a science course and you teach in that math course the competencies needed to be successful in the physical science course, for example, or you attach it to a construction trades, then do they need to take college algebra? Absolutely not, in my opinion, because they are going to have the skill set they need to be successful in that career. And you've attached it so you have two faculty that are team teaching that are both getting credit for that course, and providing the type of learning that needs to happen for that student to go on and be successful in their career.
So would it be akin in some ways to the IBEST model that was developed a few years ago?
Yeah. In Washington, I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of that. I think they got it right. And I think that funding community has stopped a lot of community colleges from fully implementing that model. I think that a lot of colleges was kind of, the flash in the pan. That's what we do. Wahoo, everybody's excited. And they try it and they don't get the results they want because they don't give enough time for that to happen. And then they move on to something else. And I think that's a mistake that we make too.
Makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, Geri, this has been a great conversation. We're starting to run short on time, but before we go, is there anything else that you would like to add that we haven't addressed today, or any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I think if I could share anything, after 40 years, I'm still standing. So clearly, this is as valuable as rocket science in a different way. But I want community college professionals to just take a moment to really appreciate what they contribute. And I think we're all so worried about enrollment dipping, and we're all so worried about what's going to happen to us on the with the funding and I think what we need to say is, what, we're doing okay. We're doing the best we can do with what we have, and these are the steps we want to take to make little increment changes. And that's what I would like to tell everyone, that you just need to applaud what you've accomplished.
That's a great message. And Dr. Geri Anderson would like to thank you for joining us on Trail Talk.
You bet.
Thank you so much.
Good. Enjoy your summer and get hyped up for fall.
Well, Zahi, that was a great interview, I thought, with Dr. Geri Anderson.
Yes, I think that Geri highlighted the need to provide the faculty with some insight about things that are happening, but allowing them to research it and trial it and giving them time, letting them trial it, but also at the same time personalize it to their classroom, to their techniques, to their students, and also focusing on, rethinking how we design our educational materials and our education in general to get the message across to students, therefore to get them more successful.
Right, we're all in education,
Yes.
and we all should strive for lifelong education.
Correct. It is the moment we stop learning is the moment where we perhaps become less effective in our job in higher education.
Well, if you like videos like this on Trail Talk, feel free to like this video, and we'd encourage you to like our YouTube channel as well. Ring the bell so you get notifications when we post new content on our Lincoln Trail College YouTube page, and follow us on our other social media channels as well. So for Dr. Zahi Atallah, I'm Chris Forde. We'll see you next time on Trail Talk on LTTV.